I walked alone on the deserted paths of my college campus. The sun had long set, casting long shadows that danced eerily in the dim light of the lamp posts. I had stayed late in the library, engrossed in my studies, and now I regretted my decision. The campus was empty, devoid of any signs of life. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the rustling of fallen leaves under my footsteps. I quickened my pace, trying to shake off the growing unease that gripped my heart. As I turned a corner, I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. Startled, I paused and looked around, but there was no one there. I shrugged it off as my imagination playing tricks on me, but the nagging feeling of being watched refused to dissipate. I continued on my way, my senses on high alert. The sound of my own footsteps seemed amplified, echoing through the empty campus. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the trees, causing them to sway ominously. Shadows danced and flickered, taking on grotesque forms that sent a shiver down my spine. A distant howl pierced the silence, chilling me to the bone. It was a sound that didn't belong in the realm of the living, something primal and unsettling. I hurried my pace, my heart pounding in my chest, as a sense of dread enveloped me like a suffocating fog. Then, I heard it, an unmistakable whisper, barely audible yet unmistakably present. It seemed to float on the wind, carried by invisible hands. Goosebumps erupted on my skin as the words registered in my mind, a chilling message that sent my pulse racing. Run. I didn't waste a second. Panic gripped me, fueling my desperate need for escape. I sprinted across the campus, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The once familiar surroundings had transformed into a labyrinth of twists and turns prolonging my torment. I stumbled upon an old building, its windows shattered and its facade covered in ivy. It beckoned to me like a refuge in the night, its darkened entrance promising solace from the encroaching horror. Without hesitation, I entered, hoping to find safety within its walls. But as I stepped inside, I was met with an eerie silence. The air grew heavy, charged with an inexplicable energy that made my skin crawl. The interior was dimly lit, the flickering light bulbs casting grotesque shadows on the decaying walls. The faint scent of decay permeated the air, making bile rise in my throat. Whispers, soft and incoherent, seemed to echo from every corner. I turned my head, trying to locate their source, but they eluded me, dancing just beyond my reach. The feeling of being watched intensified, as if unseen eyes bore into my soul, dissecting my deepest fears. In that moment, I knew I had made a grave mistake. This place, once a sanctuary of knowledge, had become a den of darkness, an abyss that threatened to consume me whole. The presence, the whispers, they were not of this world. I had stumbled upon something far more sinister than I could have ever imagined. Fear clenched my heart as I realized my only chance for survival was to escape. I turned to flee, only to find the exit blocked, as if the building itself had sealed its doors shut. Panic surged within me, and I fought against the invisible force, pounding on the solid wood, screaming for help. Just as hope began to fade, the door gave way, swinging open with a creak that reverberated through the desolate halls. I burst through, the night air a welcome embrace as I stumbled back onto the campus grounds. I didn't dare look back, not wanting to witness the horror that awaited within. To this day, I can't explain what I encountered on that night. It remains etched in my memory, a terrifying ordeal, a reminder that there are forces beyond our comprehension that lurk in the shadows. I warn others to tread carefully, for within the seemingly ordinary lies the potential for nightmares beyond imagination. In the depths of a Reddit thread dedicated to sharing supernatural encounters, I stumbled upon a chilling story that sent shivers down my spine. According to the anonymous author, a terrifying incident unfolded on a seemingly ordinary night, forever etched into their memory. The storyteller, let's call them Alex, described an evening stroll through a secluded, dimly lit path. The air was heavy with a sense of foreboding as they walked, alone and surrounded by dense woods. It was said that this path held a dark history, rumored to be haunted by the spirits of those who had met tragic ends in the area. As Alex wandered deeper into the eerie silence, an unsettling feeling washed over them. He described the sensation of being watched, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. Ignoring his growing unease, he pressed on, his curiosity piqued by the tales of supernatural occurrences that had been shared by locals. It was then that Alex caught sight of a figure in the distance. The stranger stood under the flickering glow of a lamppost, their features obscured by the shadows. Alex's heart raced, but curiosity got the better of him, and he continued forward, hoping to glean some insight into the figure's presence in this desolate place. As Alex approached, the details of the figure slowly emerged, a gaunt, haggard appearance, dressed in tattered clothing that seemed out of place in the modern world. The stranger's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, fixed upon Alex with an intensity that sent a chill down his spine. Feeling a strange compulsion, Alex hesitated, his instincts warning him of the danger that lurked beneath the stranger's enigmatic facade. But before Alex could turn away, the figure spoke, its voice hollow and filled with an ancient sorrow. "I've been waiting for you," the stranger whispered, sending a shiver through Alex's very core. Terror surged within him as he realized this encounter was no mere coincidence. Panic threatened to overwhelm his senses, but Alex stood frozen, trapped within the stranger's unsettling gaze. Alex tried to speak, to demand an explanation, but their voice was swallowed by the oppressive silence. As if breaking free from a spell, Alex mustered the courage to flee, his legs carrying them away from the haunting figure. But with each step, the darkness seemed to close in, the path stretching endlessly before him. Panic surged anew as Alex realized escape was futile, trapped within a nightmare of his own making. Suddenly, the stranger reappeared before him, blocking his path. Its hollow eyes pierced Alex's soul, and he could feel the weight of the stranger's presence, suffocating and all-encompassing. The figure's mouth curled into a malevolent smile, revealing rows of sharp, jagged teeth that glinted with an otherworldly light. Desperation consumed Alex as he fought against the invisible barrier that surrounded him. Alex screamed for help, his voice echoing through the night, but the woods remained silent, as if he were alone in his terror. The stranger's grip tightened, its ethereal fingers digging into his flesh, a pain that transcended the physical. And just as it seemed all hope was lost, a blinding light erupted from the darkness, casting the figure into shadows. Alex shielded his eyes, his heart pounding with a glimmer of hope. When he looked again, the stranger had vanished, leaving Alex trembling and gasping for breath. In the aftermath of that fateful encounter, Alex was forever changed. The path that once held fascination and mystery had become a place of nightmares, a reminder that some secrets were never meant to be uncovered. Alex shared his story as a warning to others, urging them to heed the signs and avoid the haunted path, where darkness and evil lie in wait for the unsuspecting. Amelia had always felt a sense of security on her college campus. The vibrant community, bustling with students and faculty, made her feel at home. But as the days turned into weeks, a feeling of unease began to settle within her. It started innocuously enough. Amelia would catch glimpses of a figure in her peripheral vision, always just out of reach. A tall, shadowy silhouette that seemed to blend seamlessly into the crowd. At first, she dismissed it as her imagination playing tricks on her, but as the encounters grew more frequent, her instincts screamed that something was terribly wrong. One evening, as Amelia walked back to her dorm after a late-night study session, she felt a chill crawl up her spine. She glanced over her shoulder and her heart skipped a beat. There, several paces behind her, was a dark figure with piercing eyes fixed upon her. Panic surged through her veins, and she quickened her pace, determined to put distance between herself and the stranger. But the stalker matched her stride for stride, never gaining or losing ground. The feeling of being hunted intensified with every step. Amelia's breaths came in ragged gasps as her mind raced, trying to formulate a plan of escape. She darted into a nearby building, praying for refuge, only to find herself trapped in an empty hallway, its fluorescent lights casting a sickly glow. She pressed herself against the wall, her heart pounding in her chest. Footsteps echoed through the corridor, growing louder with each passing second. They were slow and deliberate, taunting her, revealing the stalker's proximity. Amelia's mind whirled with fear and desperation. Summoning her courage, she fled down the hallway, her footsteps echoing like thunder. But no matter how fast she ran, the stalker remained close behind, a haunting presence that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere all at once. It was as if he knew her every move, predicting her every turn. Terrified, Amelia sought help from her friends and campus security. But when they arrived at the scene, the stalker had vanished, leaving no trace behind. Each encounter left her more shaken than before, questioning her own sanity. How could she explain the fear that consumed her when there was no physical evidence of the torment she endured? Night after night, the stalker haunted her dreams, his menacing gaze forever etched into her mind. Sleep became a luxury she could no longer afford. The lines between reality and nightmare blurred, as if the stalker's influence had seeped into her very existence. As weeks turned into months, Amelia's once bright spirit dimmed. Fear had eroded her sense of safety and shattered her trust in the world around her. Her grades suffered, and she became a mere shadow of her former self. One evening, as Amelia returned to her dorm, her heart sank. There, etched into her door, were the words, "I'm always watching." A wave of terror washed over her, threatening to drown her in its suffocating embrace. It was a chilling reminder that her stalker was not a figment of her imagination, but a menacing force with a relentless obsession. Driven by desperation, Amelia made a life-altering decision. She transferred to another college, hoping that a fresh start would bring an end to her nightmare. But even as she left the campus that had become a prison, she couldn't escape the lingering fear that her stalker would find her again. To this day, Amelia lives in constant fear, haunted by the memory of her stalker. Her experience serves as a chilling reminder that even in the halls of higher education, darkness can lurk, and the innocence of campus life can be shattered by the presence of a relentless and sinister stalker.